Okay, we're looking at stats and graphs and taking the kind of the numbers that we've got and collected and ordered and turning them into a visual display of what's going on. So there's one part of it is getting the data and analysing it and trying to draw conclusions. And sometimes it's easier to look at the shapes of the distributions, which is the shape of the data that we've got, by looking at graphs. And you would have done graphs before, like pie graphs, and maybe histograms, which is kind of like a bar chart, to show your findings. So we want to look at some specific graphs that relate to this course, and mainly we're looking at two. We're going to look at stem and leaf plots and box plots because they give us a good idea about our data and where all the pieces of our data lie, and gives us a good tool to be able to analyse the shape of the data, which then can help us with a few more kind of analysis of what's actually going on a bit later on down the track. So let's look at the first one, which is stem and leaf plots. You might have seen these before, and they're fairly easy to follow because what happens is you have your data and you're trying to organise it very simply to be able to see what's going on. So if you have a look here, we've got two sets of data. We've got some in blue and some in green, and I've done half of it, and we've got a segment down the middle here which is called the stem because it's the middle, and this looks like the leaves of the tree. So as you can see, my values here are units. So this is 21, so this means 29. The 2 and the 9 is 29. 2 and the 2 is 22. 2 and the 1 is 21. So this one down here would be 52. So let's look at putting in the green ones. This is unordered at the moment, but you can order the data if you want. So here we go. We've got 40. So you come down to the 40 or the 4 tens, put in a 0. Next one's 42. Then the next one's 31. Then another 42. And then another 23. And then a 21. And a 39. And you keep on going through until you get them all in there. Oops, that should be a 27. That could be a 31. And here is another 27. And a 22. And a 22. So when you look at our shapes of our data there, we can start to draw some sort of conclusions about what they're looking like. As you can see, this has got a bulge in this bit here. It comes down here. And here we kind of have a bulge and it drops down and comes like this. So this kind of has two main points happening, and this doesn't really have anything standing out in it. Now later on we'll talk about what this kind of means about our data, but that's a stem and leaf plot. It's very quite simple to do. So let's have a look at the next plot, which is a box plot. A box plot uses our 5-number summary. It uses our minimum, our lower quartile, our median, our upper quartile, and our maximum. And we can get that information off a graphic calculator or by doing it in some other means. When we draw a box plot, what happens is we use these points to draw a box, and hence it's called a box plot. So we are using the numbers to record the median, the minimum, lower quartile, median, upper quartile, and maximum. And often we'll do two of these together, and they're called a side-by-side box plot, so we can compare two sets of data. So what happens when we bring in the graphic calculator? When we do that, you can see that our graphic calculator will tell us the minimum, the quartile 1, which is the lower quartile. So in here when it says quartile 1, it is talking about the lower quartile. Quartile 3 is your upper quartile. So this number here relates to that there. Median is in there. Your quartile 1 is there. Our quartile 3 is there, and our max is going to come across and go down there. So it shows us how it's spread. So how do we draw one of these? Well, what we do is we get our data, which we've got, and draw a number line. So we've got a scale. And so you can see that our minimum is 5 and our maximum is 95, so my scale's got to be from 0 to 100. And then what you do is you add in the key points. So you can see I've added in the minimum, the maximum, the lower quartile, or Q1, the median, or Q3, which is the upper quartile, which is all well and good. Then what we do is we add in our lines for our box. So then this thing's starting to take shape now. We then can come along here and draw the top of the box in. And it's always good to do this with a ruler. I'm kind of doing freehand at the moment. And then draw these bits in here, which is called the whiskers. Okay. So they're called the whiskers because they're going from the end of the box on the way out. And then you can also label it as well. So when you look at that, you can actually see that you've drawn a box plot. It's got a scale on it, and then you can start analysing what you've got.